we were just talking about Mulvaney off air. He has come out of hiding. I mean, I feel bad for him. I do for what he has gone through, but it amazes me how these people on the left always think that they're the only ones that get any heat. I've had to have security in my life at times, living in my house for, gosh, almost 20 years now. It blows my mind when they, have any pushback at all. They immediately think they are victims. I hope that you've heard me complain much. There are times when it gets a little much, but I mean, they tried to run me out of business. I started my own network because I couldn't work at any of the. I had a deal with ABC. Do you remember this, Pat?
Sure do. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I had a deal with ABC and Good Morning America, and we were going to do, what's her name? Diane Sawyer came to me and said, I want to reinvent nighttime news. I'm going to do the anchoring at night, and I want you to do a new show in the way you do shows in the place of Nightline. And had a contract started with ABC, Good Morning America. It lasted exactly 1 day. And that's because CARE threatened to boycott the mouse. Now, if you ask ABC, they'll say, "No, we didn't cancel it. What are you talking about? We just didn't have any time or any place to put Glenn." I only appeared after I told the story on air about 2 months into that contract. If you're a longtime listener, you remember Diane Sawyer coming on to the show to announce it, and that was the last time I talked to Diane Sawyer because CARE got involved. Okay, so I'll go out and start my own network. What's the big deal? They immediately fall victim and can't think their way through anything, and they think such an un-American movement has happened to them. Well, gang, that's what happens to conservatives all the time. We're called monsters, terrorists, everything else. It's a two-way street here. And I don't want anybody treated like conservatives are treated, quite honestly, by the left. I don't want to treat the left this way. But here's Dylan Mulvaney on Bud Light. Listen.
I'm bringing it up because what transpired from that video was more bullying and transphobia than I could have ever imagined. And I should have made this video months ago, but I didn't. And I was scared, and I was scared of more backlash, and I felt personally guilty for what transpired. So I patiently waited for things to get better. But surprise, they haven't really. And I was waiting for the brand to reach out to me, but they never did. And for months now, I've been scared to leave my house. I have been ridiculed in public. I've been followed. And I have felt a loneliness that I wouldn't wish on anyone. And I'm not telling you this because I want your pity. I am telling you this because if this is my experience from a very privileged perspective, know that it is much, much worse for other trans people. For a company to hire a trans person and then not publicly stand by them is worse, in my opinion, than not hiring a trans person at all. Because it gives customers permission to be as transphobic and hateful as they want. I posted a sponsored video to my page, and it must have been a slow news week because the way that this ad got blown up, you would have thought I was like on a billboard or on a TV commercial or something major. But no, it was just an Instagram video. And the wildest part is that they also sent me one can with my face on it. You might have seen it. And funny story, I had the can around my house, but then I realized, wait, I need to protect this can. So I hid it somewhere, and now I can't find it because I hid it so well. But when I do find it, I feel like it needs to go in a museum, preferably behind bulletproof glass.
Okay, that's a little overdone. But Dylan, I would love to have that can. I think that can is a huge part of American history, and it would remain behind glass. I mean, we don't put our copy of the Declaration of Independence behind bulletproof glass, but we do put everything behind glass because the left keeps throwing paint at things. So it would remain behind glass, and I would take it seriously. I would love in our museum to have that Bud Light can because that is a major point in American history.
No question about it. I mean, Bud Light is still experiencing the lingering effects of that decision. And it went down, their sales went down 28.5% again, which was more than the month before. So, yeah,
and
it's huge.
The guy who's running Bud,
the CEO,
is now saying he'd do it again.
Yeah, man.
He'd do it again. And that's all because of ESG. They don't care about you. If they decided to say, we're against all of this stuff now, their shares would go down even more. And I contend that they easily they'd lose funding from banking. They would face all kinds of boycotts, and large major corporations would stop doing business with them. They would lose more. And, it's funny because the individual says, I don't want to take pictures of a gay wedding, and that is an absolute crime. But isn't what's happening here the same thing, except on a much more massive scale? We don't accept any other opinion than this opinion, and we'll boycott and destroy through ESG every other opinion. It's the same thing, except it's more destructive. One side is just saying, I personally don't want to do this. The other side is saying, you will do this or I will destroy you. Gosh, which one sounds American and which one sounds like totalitarianism?
Yeah. Who's the real fascist here? That's pretty clear.